Concerns grow as more child abuse cases come to light. All hands on deck as Taiwan's president-elect pushes for more homegrown submarines. Young people try to revitalize their aging hometown. Plus,
we take a look at how an old Taiwanese tradition is walking into the modern age.
hello and welcome. This is TaiwanPlus News with me, Leslie Liao. The recent death of an infant allegedly at the hands of an abusive nanny has Taiwan's attention fixed on the issue of child abuse. Two more suspected cases have put the focus on the need to protect all children, including non-citizens. John Van Trieste reports.
Two bruised babies, one of them dead, are at the center of Taiwan's latest political war of words. Their recent arrival at a Taipei hospital comes right as the country's become hyper-vigilant for signs of child abuse after a nanny allegedly killed one of her charges. Officials aren't yet certain that these two children were abused. Both seem to have contracted norovirus, causing diarrhea and a fever. Police have tracked down the father and caregiver, a friend of the mother. Both say the children scratched themselves and fell. The question of what happened could be more difficult to answer than in other suspected abuse cases. They're the children of two migrant workers who left their jobs in February last year and have lived underground since then. Their case raises questions about protecting undocumented children who live beyond the reach of Taiwan's social services. An autopsy on the dead child is scheduled for Thursday, but even before the facts are in, officials are trading blame. The health ministry has labeled this a suspected case of serious child abuse. But Taipei city officials who reported the case to the ministry say that's premature. The health ministry rejects accusations it's moved too fast. As officials argue, the hospital is focused on treating the surviving infant and uncovering the truth. Ethan Pan and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's president-elect Lai Ching-te is urging full production of the country's domestically made submarines. As Jaime Okan explains, it's part of a push by Taiwan to boost its domestic defense industry.
Taiwan's president and vice president inspect one of the country's newest weapons, the domestically made submarine, known as the Haikun. It's the first of 8 in its fleet that was unveiled to the world in September of 2023 as part of a Made in Taiwan defense strategy. The goal of that is to build warships, missiles, and fighter jets like these Brave Eagle jet trainers, all here in Taiwan. On Monday, President Tsai Ing-wen gave an update on plans to produce 66 jet trainers by 2026.
台湾自制的永鹰号已经交机27架，那国建国造的海鲲军舰也已经完成下水典礼。掩护后续部队。
This push by Taiwan to build up its domestic defense industry is due to concerns that the country relies too much on the U.S. for its defense and weapons. Taiwan is faced with military threats from China, which claims the country is part of its territory and has repeatedly threatened the use of force. That's why for decades, Taiwan has been looking to boost its defense and arm itself to defend against a possible invasion. Many analysts believe armaments should start from within the country's own industrial base.
一般来讲，当然都会想要自主的国防。但是我想，第一个是台湾跟美国的这个互信，台湾的防卫的确也符合就是美国自己的安全利益。所以我想，台湾会在中间找一个 balance， 一个平衡点，也就是部分核心的武器会自己制造。
During the inspection, President-elect Lai Ching-te, who's set to take over from Tsai in May, expressed his hope that the submarine program can be completed as soon as possible by building all of the vessels together. That would mean changing the original plan to build the remaining 7 submarines in batches. Now the company making the vessels is calling on the government to stick to the agreement.
那其实，在世界各国都是这样来做啊，应该是一艘接着一艘，然后中间的过程中都会有不断的去精进。如果政府这边有这样的一个政策能够去延续，我想对国防还有对台船来讲都是好的。
Taiwan has been busy building different kinds of ships to suit its defensive needs. And eyeing the threat from across the Taiwan Strait, the country is eager to quickly develop the weapons and systems it needs for its defense, not only boosting its domestic industry, but also easing its reliance on U.S. systems. Howard Zhang and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Vice President-elect Liao is in the Czech Republic to strengthen ties with the country. Taiwan's foreign ministry says Liao was invited to speak at a Czech think tank and will meet with friends in the country. Her trip comes as a Czech delegation arrives in Taipei to discuss aid for Ukraine. Taiwan and the Czech Republic recently signed an MOU to strengthen economic and cultural ties, but the two countries do not have formal diplomatic relations. Tech powerhouse Nvidia has unveiled its newest flagship AI chip. The company's CEO, Jensen Huang, revealed the Blackwell B200 chip at Nvidia's annual developer conference in California. The new chip will be made by Taiwanese chipmaker TSMC and combines two integrated circuits tightly bound to function as one unified and more powerful chip. Its release comes amid soaring demand for Nvidia's current generation of AI chips. Huang says its additional processing power will help unlock a new level of performance.
It's just one giant chip. And so when we were told that Blackwell's ambitions were beyond the limits of physics, the engineer said, so what? And so this is what happened.
After years of keeping electricity prices artificially low, Taiwan is set to hike up energy prices for all users. The amount will reflect usage, with power-intensive industries like semiconductors set to face the biggest price bumps. To learn more about the rate hike's potential impact on Taiwan's economy, our reporter Joyce Zeng spoke with energy economics analyst Chen Zongsun.
For years, Taiwan has suppressed energy prices to have some of the lowest electricity prices in the world. So what do you make of the timing of this price hike?
现在这个时机调整电价，从政治的角度来看，它是一个可以的。因为刚好蔡总统他8年任期要结束了，那有些时候动涨它并不是说民众不能承担，而是因为可能涉及到当时要大选，或是有些特别的选举。我们常常开玩笑说，你只要看到选举，电价就不会上涨。从国际的角度来看，大家会希望是电价是越来越及时的反应，要能够去适应它的高高低，像我们的油价这种感觉。虽然有涨，但是你可以慢慢去吸收它，那这是我觉得比较好的一方面。
There's some concern that the price hike will hit major semiconductor firms like TSMC and Micron the most, since they're very power intensive. But given how important they are to Taiwan's economy, are you worried about potential knock-on effects?
有的像是台积电这种拥有世界上最顶尖技术的人，他其实真的不太怕电价调整。因为它的产品在国际上是稀有性的，它可以把它的这些调整全部的转嫁到它的商品上，但是你还是非跟它买不可。就那些比较小的公司，那你跟他说我要调整电价，确实会对他们的营收就造成比较明显的这个负向的成长，所以他们会就起来跳脚。
TSMC is reportedly considering expanding even more in Japan, adding potentially advanced packaging capacity. From your expertise, do you think such a decision would have to do with energy-related operational costs?
其实台湾的台积电厂商要去德国、去日本，甚至去美国，这都是一些从能源角度，这是有点特别的，因为基本上这3个国家的电费应该都还是比台湾贵，但是台湾为什么要去那里？然后它的人工也比我们贵，所以你可以知道我们去那边的原因不太是因为能源，是一些其他可能是一些非经济因素，使我们必须去那边投资。
That was Joyce Zeng speaking with energy economics analyst Chen Zongsun. As young Taiwanese continue to move to urban areas, they leave behind rapidly aging communities. But some young people are going against the grain and returning to their roots. Wesley Lewis has the story.
This is rush hour in Pingxi, northern Taiwan. Once a vital coal mining town, its population is now the oldest in the country, with over 30% of residents over 65. 47-year-old Wu Mingxian gave up his fast-paced banking job 13 years ago to return here, and is trying to revive the community.
我们没有人可以留了，就是青年人口，或者现在小学只有20几个人，未来我们也没多少人口会流出去了。我要做的是想办法让现在这些20几个愿意留下。
Just over 4,000 people live here today. Aside from agriculture, the economy relies on tourism. The town is popular for its natural scenery and its sky lantern tradition. Xue Lian has recently returned to her family's yam farm and hopes the town's revitalization can help their business.
通常会来这边的人就是天灯，所以他们也不会在意到这里的农产品特色是什么。当然希望它丰富啊，如果没有观光、没有人口，怎么会有人来看到你的一些农产？
Xue's return represents what Wu has been working towards. He has helped her with marketing her produce, and the two have collaborated on educational food tours. Wu's revitalization plan also includes new guided tours of the area's sites and Japanese colonial-era coal mines. The hope is that Pingxi will transform into a center of activity for visitors and locals alike.
有一天，我们这些青年回来，会让人家改观，觉得我们在地方上是对地方好的，而不是我们非得离开家乡才可以。
Wu is part of building a new Pingxi. He's helped renovate the community's previously abandoned activity center, which now hosts events. He's put his heart and soul into revitalizing his hometown. And by prioritizing opportunities for other young people, he hopes to breathe new life into Pingxi. John Su and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's longest on-foot annual pilgrimage is in full swing. The centuries-old tradition is drawing record crowds this year, and as Sally Ensign reports, it's also harnessing the power of technology.
All decked out, worshippers of all ages are hitting the roads of Taiwan with their own modern twists to a 200-year-old folk ceremony. Honoring Mazu, a primary deity in Taoist and Chinese Buddhist traditions, this is one of the largest religious events in the country.
他也是希望妈祖能保佑我的家人都能身体健康、平安、幸福。
我这样子说你可能不太会懂，但是你如果亲身感受到他的慈悲之后，你就会很诚心的跟着他一直走。
A record-breaking 180,000 pilgrims have signed up to follow Mazu, the sea goddess, part of her way on her journey along Taiwan's western coastline, up 60% from last year.
超级多，
最多的一次，就是有史以来最多的一次。
哦，人好多，人好多，而且年轻人很多。
有，比较不好走。我今年怀孕，所以继续走。
The 400-kilometer circular route follows the folk deity for 9 days and 8 nights. And while some traditions have endured, like crouching under his sedan for good fortune, not everything is consistent. What makes this pilgrimage unique is that it's erratic, as it's decided by Mazu herself according to traditional divination methods. You never know which way you're going to go, which adds to the unpredictability.
因为他会在就是马路的中间吧，类似十字路口之类，他会在那里摇，就在那边想说要往左还是往右还是往哪里，然后忽然就往了另外一条去，然后就大家就会跟着一窝蜂就冲过去。
The chaos added to the sheer length of the walk can be tiring, but for many here, receiving Mazu's blessings is worth the effort. And in recent years, pilgrims can even use technology to track Mazu's movements.
就看导航，对，他们有 app 可以看。
在什么时候停降，然后会停多久？因为这个就是很不固定，所以要知道大概我们需要多久的时间可以休息之类的。
Mazu's adventure is also live-streamed online, allowing people to participate from wherever they are and showcasing the unique event to an international audience.
In the past, less foreigners were coming to this event, but now more foreigners, they know about the Mazu, this event, and they know about Taiwan. It's a good thing that share the culture of Taiwan to people.
The centuries-old pilgrimage is steeped in Taiwanese folklore, but as the worship of Mazu evolves into the 21st century, technology is now overhauling these age-old customs, drawing bigger and more diverse crowds than ever before. Joseph Wu and Sally Ensign in Miaoli County for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, meet the chef hoping to keep horseshoe crab on Taiwanese menus. Stay tuned.
This month's top hits on TaiwanPlus. Recognize these characters? Join us as we delve into their design, exploring the intersection of visual culture and identity.
It's made to be enjoyed. It gives you an impression, and it's that impression.
In this new season of Craft Soul, immerse yourself in the stunning creations and inspirational journeys of Taiwan's young creators.
Hi there, I'm Dr. Aziz Muller. You're listening to the Ripple Effect podcast.
Ready to make a difference? Dive into overlooked environmental topics and ignite positive change around you. Craving for more? Explore Taiwan's culinary treasures with Straight to the Source, a flavorful journey through ingredient stories. Vibrant and original programs, exclusively on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Cooking with horseshoe crab shells? One restaurant is the last in the country to uphold the 80-year-old practice once common in central Taiwan. But as horseshoe crabs are an endangered species, this cultural practice may need to come to an end. Irene Lin reports.
This oversized cooking tool may look unusual, but it was once commonly used in central Taiwan. It's the shell of a horseshoe crab. And Chef Huang Yurong says the shell's properties help in the cooking process.
手其实不烫，因为其实 hook 它这个不导热，那你手一直在搏动的时候，它蒸汽它其实是一直在流动的。
The shells soften with the heat, making them perfect for stirring delicate ingredients without breaking them.
它独有的功法啊，就是用 hook 下去炒这个面，炒起来好像比较柔软。
有的人炒迄油面拢干那安尼。 炒几个啊，就起来，迄味拢还袂离去。伊这有倒会变成小花黏黏啦，像这个炒。
West Coast locals have been catching horseshoe crabs and using their shells for generations. The crabs live close to the beach and shed their shells as they grow. Local fishers saw the opportunity to cook with the empty shells left behind. But getting a taste of shell-fried noodles has become harder. These living fossils are endangered and face threats from fishing activities and climate change.
喺亞洲嘅馬蹄蟹咧，其實如果令到即係全球暖化啲水位上升嘅話咧，其實好多地方嘅棲息地都可能係會消失嘅。咁呢樣嘢亦都可能會喺香港出現，因為香港而家好多個沙灘，咁當你將來海水個水平面上升嘅時候咧，呢啲沙灘可能就淹沒咗。
Like the species itself, this traditional culinary practice is also disappearing. For over 8 decades, there were a dozen restaurants cooking with horseshoe crab shells. Now, as the younger generation have left town and with fewer crabs, it's down to 1. Huang Yurong says she's doing her part to pass on the tradition.
就是不希望说这样传统的产业就这样消失不见。我也不希望说未来小朋友他只知道说在图书馆看到或者是在博物馆看到，他不知道他真正的使用方式是什么。
For cooks like Huang and researchers of horseshoe crabs, the priority is to educate the public more and find a way to keep the tradition and, more importantly, the species alive for generations to come. Chris Ma and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Japan has raised its interest rate for the first time in 17 years. The country's central bank, the Bank of Japan, has raised short-term rates to between 0 and 0.1%. The move brings to an end 8 years of negative interest rates. In 2016, the bank cut the rate to below zero in order to boost the economy through cheap money. Japan is the last country in the world to ditch negative rates. Antony Blinken is visiting the Philippines. The U.S. State Department says he's there to reaffirm Washington's alliance with Manila, which it described as ironclad. The top U.S. diplomat will meet his Philippine counterpart and President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. They are expected to discuss economics and regional security. The visit follows a clash between Chinese and Philippine Coast Guard vessels earlier this month that injured 4 Filipino service people. Manila has also announced a U.S.-funded port in its northern Batanes province, just a couple hundred kilometers off the southern tip of Taiwan. Myanmar is seeing a boom in opium production as farmers there turn to the cash crop to survive. Bryn Thomas looks at how the country's ongoing civil war is fueling the international drug trade.
Farmers in Myanmar work among the flowers. These poppies are a lifeline here in the country's borderlands. The poppy resin is sold to armed gangs and ethnic militias who refine it into heroin and sell it on the international market. 40 kilograms will net around $4,500 US, but the same weight in processed heroin sells for nearly $3 million US. Last year, Myanmar overtook Afghanistan as the world's leading producer of opium. After the military seized power in 2021, the country descended into civil war. In the economic and social turmoil that followed, opium has become an essential cash crop. The country produced over 1,000 metric tons of it in 2023. Unlike corn, the market for heroin is thriving. In the U.S. alone, heroin use has spiked since 2013. An average of 900,000 people in the country use it annually, and upwards of 14,000 of them will die in an overdose. The demand for heroin has brought cash into Myanmar, providing a lifeline for farmers and funding for the militia groups fighting the ruling military junta. Whether in Afghanistan or Myanmar, the opium industry has proven particularly viable during wartime. Its cultivation helps put food on farmers' tables, but also provides funds to prolong conflicts and fuel the multi-billion-dollar trade in narcotics. Justin Wu and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Bangkok has struggled to improve its poor air quality for years. The Thai capital's air pollution is among the worst in the world, and school children are paying the price. Joyce Tseng has more.
Children in Bangkok are keeping their masks on in class, not because of COVID-19, but because of air pollution. Children are more at risk of developing long-term breathing problems than adults, and teachers at this public school say they're left with few options to keep kids safe.
มันก็จะคือความอับเราก็เลยต้องเปิดหน้าต่างพอเปิดหน้าต่างปุ๊บฝุ่นอะไรก็จะเข้ามาตลอดเวลาทำให้เด็กก็จะเป็นหวัดเป็นคือภูมิแพ้เป็นกับทุกคนนะคะแล้วก็เป็นก็เรื้อรังไม่ค่อยหายนะคะ
Some of Bangkok's elite private schools have air purifiers to filter out this smog, something many public schools can't afford, leaving many children to rely only on masks. The NGO Save the Children says kids in Bangkok breathed unhealthy air for 70% of 2023. Authorities have been seeking to tackle air pollution for some time. Speaking to TaiwanPlus in October last year, Bangkok Governor Shachat Sittipan was hopeful new measures starting this year would bring about change.
The effect on Bangkok effect everywhere. We will launch a campaign to improve our car engine to Euro 5, the truck and the diesel, and making the gasoline more efficient and cleaner. So you see some improvement on that.
Sittipan also pointed to agricultural burning as a major contributor to pollution. Thailand's Prime Minister Seta Thavisin recently pledged to regulate the burning of stubble while visiting a wildfire command center in the country's north.
We are going to do whatever we can to make sure that the air condition is improved.
But as the government in Bangkok searches for the right policy, the city's children can only hope for clearer days to come. Scott Huang and Joyce Sun for TaiwanPlus.
March 18th marked the birthday of the Green Man animated crosswalk sign, which originated here in Taiwan and is now used by much of the world. The now iconic sign debuted in 1999 at a Taipei intersection. The image of the cap-wearing green gentleman was first created by Karl Peglau in 1961 in what was then East Germany. However, the Taipei signal was the first to animate the walking man, showing him moving faster as the timer counted down. The signal was the subject of a Google Doodle back in 2016 to mark its 17th birthday. That's it for this edition of TaiwanPlus News, but if you find yourself wanting more, check out our app or website. Before we go, get your goggles on for this flour war in central Greece. That is a lot of bread. I'm Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.